to the Writer at Work podcast. I'm your co-host, Miss Catherine M.H. We're starting out this podcast with a bit of an interview for everyone to get to know us before we start putting out our other content. With that, let me introduce my oldest friend, Kit Boyer. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Not too bad. Had a pretty easy day at work, so that made me happy.
Nice. That's very good. That is a nice start to the day.
That it is. So, are you ready for all of the deep, insightful questions that we have?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, while I know you well, the world does not. So let's start off with what your age is and your exact location in the world. No, I'm just kidding. Your general location in the world.
Well, I'm in a chair. It looks like I'm in a room with a window. I am 31, I think. Depends on when you're listening to this, okay? But right now I'm 31.
Oh, you could put any age
Arizona.
then. No.
Yeah, I'm 142. But yeah, I'm in Arizona, and yeah, that's where I am and what my age is.
Okay. So what genre do you write?
Ooh, I write a lot of poetry. That's been my main thing since my kids were born, I guess. For the past few years, at least, since it's been kind of harder to find time to write. But I also write fiction. So I like to write short stories, and I write young adult stuff and fantasy.
Okay.
So that's what I do. I like fairy tales. I like rewriting fairy tales, updating them or changing them or things like that. I think that's kind of it's been a popular thing for the past decade or so. More popular than it was before. Mm-hmm.
That's because it's really fun to take something old and turn it new.
Yeah, I think so too.
What do you do now for a living?
Mostly like eat, breathe oxygen, drink water, shelter, stay away from bears, and don't get COVID.
Are there a lot of bears in Arizona?
Not really.
Okay.
There are some, I think, but no, I don't think that they're a real threat here. More like scorpions, I guess. So I stay away from scorpions. But no, what do I do for like work? I have a part-time job doing transcription, but I'm a stay-at-home mom with my 3 kids.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. I homeschool them. It's work. It's work.
Well, yeah, I mean, being a mom is definitely work. Not that I can say that I don't have kids, but
you have a mom, so, and she homeschooled.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
That is true. All right, so what made you want to be a writer?
I've always loved storytelling, and when I was little, I would always write everything, always, and I would always have my dad read me stories, and I'd have, sometimes at night, I'd have like a stack of books next to my bed that were almost as high as my bed, and I'd make my dad sit there and read every one to me. And he was, good enough to sit there patiently reading every one of these horrible children's stories with me, even though I was fully capable of reading them myself. But I think it's just like a natural affinity for it. One of my kids really loves writing as well. He's a really excellent storyteller, and I think that he's going to exceed my whatever talents I have by quite a lot by the time he's my age, I would assume. If not, that's okay too. He can do what he wants. I don't want him to listen to this and feel stressed out when he's older, thinking that he didn't live up to his mom's expectations. But I really think that he's better than I am. So I think it might be just something that sometimes you're just born with a desire to tell stories.
So speaking of stories and you having stacks of books, which I'm assuming you probably still do, what authors do you admire?
I admire a lot of authors. The ones that I can think of right now off the top of my head are the ones that I've been reading recently. So Yang Chu, she wrote The Ghost Bride. And she has a new book out, and I can't remember what it's called, The Night Tiger or something. But it's I'm really excited to read that. I really loved the world that she had built. And then I have, we're reading The Lord of the Rings with the kids, which has been
Nice.
really fun. And listen, like J.R.R. Tolkien, obviously a genius, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
an excellent storyteller. He's so detailed, but like I think we can also admit that it's a little bit boring to read sometimes. There's a lot of walking. They're like, and then they started walking and they stopped to eat. And then they began walking again. And they stopped and they said, should we eat? And they ate and they began walking again. So that's where we are in the story. So it's a little bit hard to get through that part with the kids, but I think that it's definitely going to be worth it to them. And really, like his world building is just excellent. Another author that I really admire is Kristen Cashore. She wrote the I don't remember the name of the series, maybe Fire. Fire is one of the books, and it's really excellent. I really like it. It's a young adult genre novel. I'm not going to give anything away, but if you like young adult stuff, you should read that. It's really cool.
Nice. So, that kind of also ties into what books do you love?
Yeah. Yeah, I love those books. My husband got me a book of poetry for Christmas by Louise Gluck, and I'm really looking forward to reading that.
Is it death poetry? No.
Probably some of it. Not as morbid as you might like, though, huh?
Ah, indeed. All right. Any other books?
Not off the. I mean, I love a lot of books. I read a lot. But right now, off the top of my head, I haven't been reading too much lately, so I don't have anything like burning right now.
So let me put you on the spot and see if you can recall one. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book? Oh, God.
Yeah, like if you were to run into the library that was burning to the ground and you could only grab one book, what book would you run for?
Oh, my God. That's a crazy question. I don't
Right?
think that I
would
have a
just burn with
favorite.
the library.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, well, it's time for me to go. Man, one book. I mean, I'm tempted to say like a book of short stories because then you get a little bit of many favorite authors, but okay. So if I had to pick that, if I went that route of thinking, then I guess I would pick My Mother She Killed Me, My Father He Ate Me. It's a collection of short stories by a lot of different famous authors. And it's like a fairy tale, a collection of retold fairy tales.
Wow,
So
I've
maybe
never
that?
heard of it.
Yeah, you might like it. It's kind of weird, and I really like that weird vibe actually. So
Yeah. All right
oh,
then.
so a lot of them are really grim. By the way, a lot of the stories are really grim and weird. So you might like it like extra.
Okay. So, why turn writing into a full-time job?
Well, writing is work. It's like lifeblood and breath, but it's also work, and turning it into a career would mean formalizing something that you already do and love. And I think it's kind of like getting married or something, you know? Like you're not going to stop loving it and stop doing it just because you're not married, but marrying it is just like a signifier to the outside world that like hey, this is my main thing. I'm pretty serious about this. Even if you're not married, that would still be the case. It's more like, I think, formality or something. But I really do love writing. And if I could do that as a career, I know in some ways it would make me unhappy to have to do the thing I love for work. But in other ways, it would be very satisfying to see my story out in the world, or my stories, and to be able to maybe interact with other people about the stories, or see other people's ideas for the same worlds or different characters in similar situations, or whatever. So I don't know. I think that.
Okay. What is your greatest achievement of writing so far?
Oh God. I knew these questions were coming, but somehow I'm still surprised at every one and trying to rack my brain for answers. I'm like, oh,
it's all right. That's why I'm really glad I get to go second.
Yeah, you get to think about it. My greatest writing achievement so far, I guess. So I did finish a book or not a whole book, but I finished 50,000 words for NaNoWriMo a few years ago. I haven't gotten back to that high point since. But I also wrote a children's story for my children, and I made the art for it, and I haven't published it, but I have it I have the it's like a lift a flap book that I made for them.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's on my Facebook if anybody wants to see. Maybe I'll try to post it on Instagram as well. You can find me at Rayobtic on Insta and Twitter.
Nice.
So it's my name backwards, Kit Boyer.
Oh, wow. I didn't know why it was that, but I wasn't going to ever ask because I was just like, all right, whatever.
It must be important to her. Okay.
Right? That's exactly how I thought of it. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. All right. So if that's the case, what is your greatest failure with writing so far?
I have so many books in the queue that I have not finished, and I'm working on them seriously, and I have the plots kind of figured out, and I've got a lot of writing done, tens of thousands of words done on these various books, and I just haven't finished them. So that's my greatest failure. I really, really wanted to get this one series of books started and at least get the first book in the series published when my kids were at the same age as the characters, but I don't see that happening, and it makes me really sad. But my daughter's getting to the age where she's reading kind of young adult stuff. So even if I don't get to it right away, if I don't finish writing and publish it while she's in this phase, maybe she'll still enjoy it when she gets a little older, or maybe she never would have enjoyed it in the first place because she's my daughter and, mom, embarrassing her or something. The characters are not based on my kids. I just wanted to have them grow up with the characters, and so that's my greatest failure.
Oh. All right. For you, what is the most difficult thing about writing?
I'm tempted to say finding time to write between having kids and my other responsibilities, but maybe the most difficult thing about writing is to lately it's been to get into the flow of writing longer stuff other than poetry, but probably the actual most difficult thing over my lifetime of writing is just finishing the idea. We're going to talk about this in a later episode because you mentioned something that really resonated with me about resistance and writer's block. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but just as a heads up, something that you said it was it clicked with me. I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. So sometimes there's resistance, and that, I guess, is the part of writing that's the most difficult for me.
Okay. So on the reverse, what's the easiest thing about writing?
I think, just doing it. I love writing. I love writing poetry specifically these days because it's so short and sweet, and I don't like to spend a lot of time on poems. I think for me, if I spend too much time on a poem, I'm overthinking it and I'm losing the essence of it. So I like to just be really quick about it. I think of it, I write it down, I think, is there anything else I want to add to this or anything I want to emphasize? And then I do that, and then I'm done. And then I bring it to workshop, and they're like, oh, you could change this and this. And I'm like, never changing it. That's not true. I change it all the time, but but that's my initial thought. But yeah, I think just doing it. I love writing. I love the storytelling aspect of it. I think it's really fun.
Nice. So where do you see your writing career taking you?
Ooh, I hope to publish my sounds super ambitious when I say it out loud, but I have a 9 book series in for children's books. They're not children's books. It's young adult. And it follows these 2 characters as they grow older and grow into their identities or whatever. And I also have, I want to finish and publish as many books as I can, get as many of my stories out there as I can, because I have a lot. I have another 3-book series that I have planned, and I have different short stories, and I'd like eventually to publish a few chapbooks, and that's kind of what I'm working on this year, hopefully, is publishing some chapbooks.
Okay, so speaking of publishing, what road of publishing would you like to travel?
That's a great question. I think traditional publishing for my novels, like the actual book ones, and then the short stories, maybe try to get them into a literary magazine or something more like that. And then for the poetry, I mean, of course, I want to submit the poetry and get it into a magazine, but also making a chapbook either on my own with my writing group or through like a local publishing house. That would be ideal.
Cool. So, what is one fun fact about you? It could be anything random, whatever.
I saw this question just now as you're reading it, and I was like, no.
Oh, yeah, no, I just added it in as we were doing this. I was like, ooh, I'm going to ask you a fun fact. Throw one in you didn't see before.
Let me see. A fun fact about me. Man. Fun fact. I have the same like style and make typewriter as Cormac McCarthy did when he wrote all of his big important novels. My husband got it for me our first Christmas together because I told him that I loved writing, and it's been one of my favorite things to type on since.
That is awesome. I didn't know that. Wait, is it like the exact same or the same type?
It's the same. It's not the exact one. It's the same type. He wrote on it so much that it literally like collapsed. Like it like fell apart because he typed every novel just like straight onto it. He didn't do any edit. He was just like, blah, 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 you know, stream of consciousness, his novels, I guess. So it, I guess it sold at auction for like a lot of money too, which makes sense. He's, you know, super famous, but yeah, it's an Olivetti 32 and it's beautiful. Light blue. It's so pretty.
All right, the final question. What does the statement writer at work mean to you?
Okay, so I know that you and I had different ideas about this, but because we've been doing writer at work for a while, I don't remember whose is whose.
That's
I
okay.
don't remember which one is which. So I think it can mean two things, and I'll say one of them, and I assume that you'll say the other on your video. So writer at work to me means that you are both writing and working. So I am working by being a full-time, you know, mom, stay-at-home homeschooler person, and, you know, getting my kids, raising my kids and stuff, and doing my part-time transcription job. And you are doing your extra jobs as well. And then I'll leave the other part of that to you.
That's actually exactly kind of what you said last time.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it was your version. So see, you still went with your version. Okay.
Excellent.
Well, ladies, gents, and lizards, aliens as well.
Bird people.
Oh, yes, bird people. How could I forget? And mer people. Yeah. People in general. Yes. Or not people.
However you identify.
Anyway, whoever my listeners are, thanks for listening. This was Kit Boyer. Soon you will hear from me, and maybe she will throw in strange questions in the middle of an interview like I did to her.
Yes, that's definitely going to happen. We hope you guys enjoy our podcast and find it helpful. For written articles and to keep up with us on social media, you can go to writeratworkpodcast.com, and you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon using the links below. So good luck and stay safe out there.
Bye.